Hello, good morning. So last time we have done a discussion on the load balancer, the placement of the firewall, and some SSL tunnel. Why do we need an SSL tunnel or the TLS tunnel? Encryption, right? In this video or in this session, we will more discuss into the F5 load balancer. Okay, and we will try to correct the different objects, or we will try to connect the different dots to make it more into in the production environment. So this is going to be a very interesting video. So whatever I have learned from my past experience, or what I have learned from my theoretical or the practical stuff, I will just try to, or whatever the little analytical mindset I have, I try to develop it for the users or the community who can just benefit from it, right? So this is going to be a very interesting video, right? So let's just start. So we have an F5 load balancer, which is under the DMZ zone, right? We have a perimeter firewall, we have VLAN, we have internet gateway, we have internet over here. We have a client sitting on somewhere on the internet. Okay, this is an F5 load balancer. So what is an F5 load balancer over doing over here? He is doing the load. So we have a three servers: web server 1, web server 2, web server 3, with this IP address, and the default gateway is on the F5 load balancer, right? So the F5 load balancer is doing the load balancing based on any of the algorithm defined, and the other option or other job the F5 load balancing is doing the SSL offloading. So what exactly the SSL offloading is defined over here? So from the client to F5 load balancer, once if the client want to access any of the web server, he will first come, he will have a tunnel with an F5 load balancer, because this is a netted IP with this IP address 203. Okay, so this internet gateway will forward to this IP, this request to the this one 192.168.1.100. Once it will do it, this will be encrypted traffic, right? So what SSL offloading will do, it will make the encrypted traffic to a plain traffic, so the stress would be low on the server. So we have three kind of an SSL, right? So what are these SSL? SSL pass through, SSL bridging, SSL offloading. So what we have in our scenario, we have an SSL offloading. And what are the features or definition of the SSL offloading? It decrypt the traffic at the load balancer and send an unencrypted to a backend. So what it is doing? Decrypting. It is an encrypted traffic. It is decrypting and sending the plain text or the plain traffic to the backend server. What is the certificate location? It is on the load balancer only. Okay, so the SSL certificate is required on the load balancer only. So the SSL certificate is required on the load balancer only. Okay, so if you are doing the SSL offloading, if you have an SSL offloading, where do we need an SSL certificate? The SSL certificate required on the load balancing only. What kind of an encryption or decryption it's doing? It's decrypt at the load balancer and plain text to a backend, right? It's the same story with the different words, right? So it's a decrypting at the load balancer and the plain text to the backend. What kind of an encryption is scope? The encryption is from the client to F5 only, right? So that is up to the encrypted. The other is it's not an end-to-end encryption. In the SSL offloading, it's a direct to the encrypted from the here client. Where's the client? Client to the F5 load balancer, and this is a plain traffic, right? You will heard about there are two type of profile, right? SSL profile, client profile, and SSL server profile. So when we are doing an SSL offloading, it has to be done on the client profile. Okay, so SSL client profile has to be done, not a server profile. SSL server profile has to be done when we are doing SSL bridging. Okay, when we are doing an SSL bridging, we will do the server profile. When we're doing the SSL load balancing, sorry, offloading, or the so what is exactly the SSL offloading? We are decrypting at the load balancer, right, and sending back traffic to the physical server or virtual server and as a plain traffic. So what we need as an SSL client profile, not a SSL server profile. Okay. And what and do we need a certificate, SSL certificate? Yes, we need an SSL certificate. SSL certificate should not be a root CA. If you have a root CA certificate for the HTTPS traffic, right, for the external, then the user can access the website, right, but it would be having an error. So it is on the user's uh, risk to access this. So in the production environment, we have an SSL certificate signed by the trusted CA, right? And how this certificate is done? First, we have a CSR. What is a CSR? Certificate signing request. We have already discussed this one in the last session. What is a CSR? Certificate signing request. Once the signed request is done, once you have it's a kind of a filling the form, right? You are going to take an what do you do, right? You just give your all this information to your organization, or sorry, for the passport, right, or some government ID. So you need to fill out the form. You are giving this all this information, you are signing a request, you will sign it and give all this information: where do you live, what's your number, what's your bank number, right, any supporting document, everything. Once you will sign this request and give to the authorities, like an authority to the government, here the authority are the trusted CA, they will do a background check, validate it, and sign it. So they will issue a certificate. Once you get a certificate, you can import this certificate to your SSL profile, or you can import it and map it to your SSL profile, right? So you need to map it. So I can show you the certificate stuff what we have. Yes. So in F5 load balancer, so whenever you are doing an HTTPS offloading, SSL offloading, as well as you have an uh, you need, so when you have an HTTPS traffic from the client, right, and you're doing an SSL offloading, so you need a certificate over here. Without certificate, this could not going to work in the production. So first thing, you go to the system. In the system, you have a certificate management. After certificate management, what we have? Traffic certificate management and SSL certificate list. When you hit the SSL certificate list, there's an option for the create. Once you create it, you will have a lot of an option over here. You need to give this name, you need to sign this, choose it whether it's a self or certificate authority. So it's better if we will use a certificate authority. Self is for the lab environment, or you show this, but for the production, actual production, real business to be done, it's always a certificate authority, right? So we are sending some sharing some more information. Okay, it's an F5 localities in Seattle, Washington, US, all these stuff. Then you will generate a key, right, key properties. Once you've done all this job, you finish it. Okay, after finishing it, you will get the requested text, right? This is a text, you will get it and this text you can download it. And these are the certificate authorities. There are more certificate authorities like Interest, Global Sign, Verizon, right? So once you will have this text, you can send to the these one of the trusted certificate authorities. Like these are the government. So your form is ready for the passport. You will send to the government authority. Okay. So ident, trust, or interest is in the digital world. These are the government authorities, and in so you will send it. Once they will validate it or verify it, they will give you back the so this process is called the CSR, certificate signing request. So once you give this request, after validation, they will give back you the certificate from signed by the certificate authorities. Once you get the certificate, SSL certificate, what you have to do? You have to import in the F5. So you have a configuration over here. system configuration, traffic certificate management, SSL certificate list, import. You go over here, there's an option for the import certificate import option. Then you will give the new certificate, name of the certificate. Then you can choose a file which you have get it from the trusted CA. Once you do it, just import it. Okay, so this is what we are doing, this importing it. There's one so once you import it, then there is one more process to map it to the SSL profile. So what we are connecting, we are connecting the dots. So what we have an F5 load balancer, F5 load balancer doing the load balancing. We have to provide the resiliency, okay, redundancy. But there are more options like an HTTPS decryption. We don't want to stress this. So what we are doing, we are doing an SSL offloading. The HTTPS traffic are coming encrypted up to the F5. From F5 it's a plain traffic. So once if we need to do this SSL offloading, what we needed, we need a certificate, and this certificate should be signed by the SSL certificate by a trusted CA. So for this, what we need to do, we need to have the CSR process. Once signed by the trusted CSA, import it, right? And for the SSL offloading, there's a two type of a client profile. One is there are two type of SSL profile. One is a client profile, the server profile. So we are doing the SSL offloading. We need to go with an SSL client profile. So once you have got the certificate, you have to import this map to the after importing map the certificate to the SSL profile. So this is one thing we are done, right? Now the next is what is the next? Next is, this is one kind of a profiling. There are another seven kind of a profiling, like an application profile, the most common profile. In the application profile, we have an HTTP profile, TCP profile, DNS, SIP, right? Those are the profile. So what we are defining on these profiles, that how we can route the traffic, or how can we can make a decision on the basis of the profile, right? So when you we have an HTTPS traffic, right, and we are doing the offloading, then we can also take leverage of the HTTP profiling also. So what exactly HTTP profiling do? So suppose you have a URL that this is a 192.168.1.100.443 API user. This is a request, web request. It's get on the F5 load balancer. So what it can do, it can do a profiling. So in this is a URL, in the URL this is a URI which is start from the API user !sort ASC details. Okay, so profiling, HTTP profiling is like a parsing the data. So there's an unstructured data, it will structure it and read it. Like if someone go to the uh, restaurant, he orders a pizza with a full pizza with a coffee, a cup of a coffee, a pizza and cup of a coffee, right? So waiter will just go back to the uh, kitchen and he will say a full pizza and a coffee, a kitchen, right? So it will the parse the information, right? It will make it more structured. So if there's a customer who makes a lot of story, oh, it's too, it's a weather is too good. I'm here. I'm feeling hungry. I just want to have some kind of a pizza. So I think we should go with the best pizza. So the best pizza seems to be your chicken tandoori pizza, right? So I would like a chicken tandoori pizza with the cold coffee, right? But for the waiter, the main information is a one chicken tandoori pizza and the cold coffee. The rest is all this nonsense. So he will pass this information, make it more structure, and give it to the kitchen. That is a passing of the information, right? Unstructured, read it, make it more structure so that the any decision can be made. So that is what the URI, user resource identifier. Okay, so that is what we can do it. One of the profiling, HTTP profiling, can be done over here, right? We can discuss the HTTP profiling the later on also, But this is one of this profiling also we can do a part of an application profiling where we do the HTTP profiling, where we pass the data and we can make the decision on those data like this, right? UPI user. So if any API traffic is coming, then it could go to the web server too, and if it's a web traffic is coming, or it's someone want to have an access to the image only, then it goes to the web server 1, right? Or if it's some dynamic thing, it can go to the web server 3. So this can be done with an application profiling, and in the application profiling in an HTTP application, right? We can go one more step ahead, and we can just do we can pay for the licenses for the WAF, right? Application firewall. So in that case you need a license, and you can prevent these. Here we are just denying the on the basis of the or accepting on the URI, but on those you can have much more advanced function like the uh, cross site SQL injection. Those attacks could be like this can be prevented on these servers, because these servers are the web server hosted, right? Suppose you have a request coming on the HTTPS 192.168.443 API on the admin user, right? So that load balancer would deny it, because no admin is allowed in the production network to come off from the outside network, right? Whoever access need an access of the admin, mostly it has to be allowed from the internal network, right? So admin login page, if someone is asking for the admin login page, then F5 load balancer could deny it by leveraging the HTTP application profile, right? So this is a very important feature of the F5 load balancing. But for the HTTP load balance profile needs to be implemented, we need a TCP profile also, right? So that is also required. So in this case, what all these profiles are required? We need a client SSL profile, because client SSL profile is mandatory for the HTTPS of SSL offloading, right? And if you are doing the HTTP application profiling, where we are doing the parsing the data, we are reading the HTTP headers and making a decision on those those data, right? So we need a HTTP profile plus TCP profile, because HTTP works on the TCP. That's the foundation. So this is all the story, right? We can do a more deep dive on this one, but this is what, if you discuss in any interview or with the client, or if you have got this fundamental, then you are all good, right? You will not see this kind of connecting the dots in another session. I have just tried my head uh, from my end to give my best for the making it useful for our community. Okay, thank you.